Hello, and welcome to Vintage SF. Today, I want to take you down a rabbit hole that I was led to by Michael K. Vaughan. Earlier this summer, he did an episode on EC Comics, Weird Fantasy and Weird Science. I loved picking up some of these comics when I was in my teens and 20s. They were reprints, of course, because originally they came out in the early 1950s. He was showing some amazing omnibus editions that had been put out and were reasonably priced. So I went online and got a few, and I've been reading 4 of them over the last few weeks. Here, let me give you an example of what I've been reading. From Weird Fantasy, number 22, November-December of 1953. We're going to take a look at the cover story here. Cover artist was Joe Orlando, colorist Marie Severin. We're going to take a look at the story titled The Fossil. The writers are Bill Gaines and Al Feldstein, and the artist for the comic itself is Joe Orlando. Their gleaming ship had come down from the star-studded void, coughing smoke and belching flame and kicking up the ancient dust of the long-dead planet. And as the ancient dust had settled, the port had opened and they'd come out, dressed in their spacesuits. First, the archaeologists. Next had come their equipment, their pneumatic drills, their atomic borers, their cosmic disintegrators, each carefully lowered from the ship. And their digging had begun. They drilled into the dead planet's dry and cracked surface, blasted through its outer crust, disintegrated through its ash strata, its cooled lava layers. And then, suddenly, their silent labors had abruptly halted. The archaeologists had stared down at the gigantic fossilized bone they'd uncovered. How old is it? Older than the oldest traces of life on our planet. They stared at each other. Then our theory is correct. Life evolved on our planet, yes, but the beginning, the first spark, the first seed of life on our planet originated elsewhere. Originated here. They'd measured and calculated and finally announced, this is the fibula bone of an ancient creature so huge that it probably towered over twice the height of our ship when it was alive. And that was before life even existed on our planet. Keep digging. Perhaps we will find the rest of this creature's fossilized skeleton. Perhaps we'll be able to reconstruct it. So their digging had begun again. Little by little, more and more of the ancient alien creature's fossilized bones were discovered. Huge scaffolds were erected. Work on reconstructing the skeleton was begun. The captain of the archaeologist ship could not understand the significance of the discovery. Why the fuss over a pile of gigantic bones, Professor? When we are finished, Captain, we will have reconstructed an accurate replica of a creature that roamed this planet before life even appeared on ours. The captain had questioned the professor. You mean this creature lived when our planet was nothing more than a seething, bubbling, molten sphere? Exactly, and it's our contention that life, all life on our planet, originated here. But how did life get to our planet from here? Spores, perhaps? This planet underwent severe geological change. The ash and lava strata tell us that. Perhaps the boiling core of the planet erupted through its surface, exploding upward as a gigantic volcano erupts, sending rocks into space, hurling beyond the gravitational pull of the planet, rocks in which were embedded spores, and these spore-bearing rocks sped across the galaxy much like meteorites, finally falling upon our young, lifeless planet, where the spores developed and the first one-celled life appeared in our cooling planet seas. And evolution began, eh? Yes, the one-celled life evolved into the multicellular life and finally into life as we know it today. The captain had studied the huge scaffolding and the fossilized skeleton the archaeologists were carefully reconstructing. Then, actually, this creature is an ancestor of ours. This creature was a part of the life of this planet, yes. And since life on our planet originated here, you can say that it is a distant ancestor of ours. This geological change you spoke of, this eruption, is that what made this a dead planet? It appears that way. It wiped out life here and began it on our planet. Did all the life in the galaxy begin here, Professor? Perhaps, perhaps not. Perhaps a millennium ago, the same thing happened on another planet. Spores came here and evolved into this creature. Sort of an endless chain, eh? You might say so. This creature was huge, wasn't it? Yes, we have calculated that it stood on all fours and was twice the height of our ship. What will you do when you have completely reconstructed its skeleton? We have determined from its bone structure that it had a thick, elastic hide covered with hair. We will attempt to reproduce that hide and cover the fossilized skeleton with it. Then we will see almost exactly what the creature looked like. Ought to be interesting. Time had passed. Each night the archaeologists had retired to their ship, and each day they begun again, adding to the skeleton of the ancient alien creature as they uncovered more and more of its fossilized remains. The skeleton had grown. It neared completion, towering over the ship. Then the archaeologists had begun to cover the skeleton with the artificially produced hide. This hide is as close to the actual hide of the creature as we can determine. What do you intend to do with the thing when you've finished? This will be a scientific wonder. Great scientists from our planet will make pilgrimages here to gaze upon a creature that became extinct while our world was in its infancy. It sure is huge. Finally, the covering of the creature's skeleton had been completed. The captain had stared up at it. Was this an intelligent creature, Professor? Hardly. It traveled on all fours, as you can see, and it wasn't intelligent enough to prevent its own extinction. But you said it was made extinct by a geological upheaval, an eruption of some sort. The archaeologist and captain had climbed into their ship. I was wrong, Captain. The eruption was artificially produced. Did that creature produce it? I hardly think so. There must have been other creatures, intelligent creatures on the planet who caused the extinction of life here. Perhaps someday you will find a fossil of the intelligent creature. The archaeologist and the captain had begun removing their spacesuits. Now they stood in the artificial light of the ship, the evolutionary products of the spore life that had come from this dead world. Make ready for takeoff. The rocket ship leaped upward with a roar, carrying the archaeologists back home. Look, out the port. Yes, you can get a better idea of what the ancient alien looked like from this distance. The carefully reconstructed ancient alien creature stood on all fours upon the surface of its dead world. Its face. It looks like it's crying. The end. I hope that gives you an idea about the stories that are contained in each issue. Usually there were 3 or 4. Both Weird Science and Weird Fantasy ran for 22 issues each, alternating each month. The creative teams were the same, and so when they amalgamated into Weird Science Fantasy, it just became one magazine. But that only held for a few months. Unfortunately, it folded. That's something to talk about in the future about the comic code. But back to Weird Science and Fantasy, there were a lot of great artists involved in the series, writers as well. There's an interesting story of how Ray Bradbury became involved, but that's for a future video. I want to get back to reading novels for Rocket Summer 2025. So, would you like to see more about EC Comics, their science fiction run, perhaps even their horror run? Who are some writers and artists that you can recommend from this era? I'd love to hear your stories about these comics. Please comment. Until next time, keep reading.